All right, welcome in. Happy Thursday. It is the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Network, presented by Betonline.ag. Welcome in. I'm Corey Burton. Joining me is my number one energy man, my hype man, Israel Troop, man. What's going on?
What's going on, brother? Just getting ready for Friday night, man. Thursday night, Thunder tomorrow. That little JV game. It's going to be a good week.
Heck yeah, man. We're getting ready for a big region game as well. We have Father Ryan this week, so that'll get a good district win and a region win, and we will be off and running. Hopefully, a good playoff seed. The way it works in Division II AAA is there's only 11 teams, so they just reshuffle the deck. So we're either going to be we're basically fighting to play in Nashville and not have to go to Memphis or Knoxville or Chattanooga.
There you go.
So
one game at a time, baby. One game at a time.
One game at a time. Needless to say, this one's very, very important. So anyway, speaking of important games, if you want to bet on important games, obviously not these because these are high school games, but you can go to betonline.ag, who is your number one source for all your sports wagering needs, whether you're betting live games, props, futures, whatever the case may be. Betonline.ag has you covered, as well as they have an online casino if you're a casino player. So head to the website or on your mobile device. I'm pretty sure, Israel, they have an app. It'd be cool if they did.
I think so.
And we're going to make some picks later, so stay tuned for that as well. But head to the website, type in the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to get your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline.ag, it's where the game starts. So we talked in our last episode, the Auburn game. We put that one to rest. We decided slow start, some things happening up front, mostly probably miscommunications with an offensive line as talented as we have and not being able to run the ball as effectively as we should or need to be. Kentucky comes into town. They provide a legitimate threat. Georgia's 14.5 point favorites, or just 14-point favorites over Kentucky. Kentucky can present a lot of problems for Georgia. So let's get into that a little bit. Not only what Georgia needs to do, but who they need to be worried about for Kentucky. And I'm going to present the first name who had a monster game against Florida, and that's Ray Davis.
Yes, I watched that game. Ray Davis is still running right now as we speak. So he ran all over Florida. I think Florida, going back and watching it and seeing it firsthand the other night, I think Florida had a really good game plan. I mean, they had people in the right spots. They just missed a bunch of tackles. It's a whole lot of I don't want it from Florida in that game. So you can say it's coaching, you can blame the DC all you want to, but if you go back and watch the game, you actually had them in pretty much the right calls. It's up to those guys to go ahead and go out there and execute. Same thing with Georgia, but at the same time, I mean, he's a really, really, really good running back. And if you notice, a lot of their runs were where? In between the tackles. So that's one place, and I talk to our coach staff about this one place. I think that's our strength. You're not just going to beat us up front and completely just mash us down. Where you're going to get us is on perimeter runs. I haven't seen a lot of perimeter runs from Kentucky, but I'm sure that they got them, especially if they watch the Auburn game. Pretty sure they're going to try to get us on the perimeter. But we have too many great defensive minds on that side of the football, our head coach being one of them. And I'm pretty sure they got that fixed this week. I feel like this year, passing-wise, I think we were a lot better in coverage. We look really good in man. In zone, a little sketchy, but we're getting better and better each game. And this is the first time, especially last week, that I've seen us get outflanked a lot. We took some bad angles against Auburn, things that you normally don't see us do on defense. But I think if we can contain him and keep the ball in between the tackles, I think we'll be fine. If you get us on the perimeter, I hope he fixed it from last week, and then we're still going to be fine. I see no reason why Georgia can't pull this thing out, but it also starts with us executing, especially on the first drive of the game on Saturday.
Yeah, regardless of who has the ball, it's executing on the first drive, whether it's getting a 3-and-out on defense or whether it's driving it down and getting points on offense, and just showing that, hey, we're going to get into a rhythm. So defensively, I think Devin Leary can run. So let's not discount the fact that, hey, he's just as much of a runner as Peyton Thorne was, and he's just as much of a runner as anybody in our league can be, and he's a special quarterback. So what Georgia has to do, you're exactly right. They have to tackle well on the perimeter, because they're going to have to dedicate bodies on the inside. So they're going to have to win some one-on-one battles out there. That's just the way it's got to be, unfortunately. And then once you start winning some of those one-on-one battles, maybe then you can start winning a little bit up front in the interior, in the cylinder of the defense. I think that you can now start to do some things with those inside backers, whether you gap exchange, play some games, run some stunts, things like that. I haven't seen us really do much of that either, and I don't know if that's just because we have inexperience up there in the defensive front seven, but I haven't seen as much. Like, I remember 2 years ago, like, there wasn't a play where somebody wasn't looping or twisting or blitzing or something. And this year I haven't seen much at all of that. I'm sure we've done it. I just haven't really seen it much. And I think when you play a little bit more conservatively in the front, I think it puts a lot of pressure on your secondary. They have trouble communicating. I think the linebackers kind of have trouble with what their assignments are. And I think you just have some guys that are out of position and can't make the play. Same with the reason why there's been some throws that have been completely wide open. And areas that probably shouldn't be completely wide open. So it's just getting, I think the number one word that sums up this Georgia team and what they need to improve is communication. Absolutely, communication.
I completely agree. Communication, execution, man. I mean, you see it when we're rocking. I mean, we're rocking and rolling, man. I mean, it is a beautiful thing to see when everybody's on the same page, everybody's doing their job, and things like that. I think it just gets to the point to where, we're trying to do a little bit too much as a player. Sometimes you want to make that big play, or you want to, all right, I saw this last time, I think I'm going to jump it this time, just things like that. There's no selfish play in between any of our guys, if you really look at it. I think it's just a point of, all right, I want to make this play. I've seen it, I think they're going to do this, just anticipation plays, but you just got to be disciplined. You got to be disciplined, So I think it just comes down to communication and execution, And if you get a chance to make a play, make the play,
And Devin Leary's thrown 5 interceptions.
One thing that we struggle with this year is tackling. Our tackling has not been very good,
which is uncharacteristic.
Yes, especially coming off of last year. When we go out there and knock the hell out of people. Now it's just we're trying to throw a body in there, throw a shoulder in there, and hoping that he falls. We're hoping for him to fall. And these guys lift weights just like we do. So they're running through these tackles. So we have got to tackle. And another thing I haven't noticed is us rallying to the football. On a consistent basis, we do. But I'm used to seeing 9-10 guys to football. Starting to see, maybe 3 or 4 guys, maybe get in on the tackle. And that's where these big runs come from. If you got 9-10 guys going to the football, I mean, people think twice about running it a lot. As an offensive guy, you're good with about 2 or 3 guys trying to tackle you. You start seeing 6-7 guys running toward you, you'll think twice. You'll probably get down.
Yeah, you probably will. I mean, there's no reason why Peyton Thorne should have ripped off a 61-yard gain. Like, there's no reason for that.
Should have been picking up his teeth in all reality. Like, when he got outside the pocket and was running down the sideline, should have been picking up his teeth. I'll give him a first down. I mean, he had first down yardage, but another 57 yards, no, dog, you should have been picking up your teeth after that.
He needs to be picking himself off the ground, because you get 2 guys sealed and he busts off for 61 yards like that. Like, that's not rallying to the ball. I just don't. You don't see the same urgency. You don't see the same. What's the word I'm looking for? Juice, energy. What am I looking for here? Defense, like what would describe that?
We kind of look like we're expecting somebody else to make a play, and that also goes not only are you trying to make the big play and missing, but we're kind of sitting back and wait somebody else to make that play. When it was all right, here's my play, I'm taking it. It is and it's just one of those deals to where all right, what are we doing? Where's the continuity right now? And that also goes with having guys out too. Bullard was out for a long time. There's a lot of guys just in and out with injuries and things like that. So there hasn't been a consistent defensive group on the field. You got subs and stuff that come in, but we're the starters. Like every single game, that this guy's going to start and he's going to be on the field. When you start adding these little pieces here and there, that can throw off your continuity a little bit. I think that's also what's happening on offense as well. You see how good we are with Ladd on the field, along with Rosemary Jackson, along with Dejon Edwards, along with Brock Bowers. We got some pieces missing up front, so we're playing musical chairs, due to injury. So, once we get healthy, and I mean, this is football, so there's nobody in this league that's going to be 100% healthy. But it's just a point of, all right, that continuity has to be built, with different pieces now. How fast can we get to that before, things just get out of hand?
Yeah, I mean, it's getting rapidly approaching is the time that Georgia needs to figure out how to start fast and put teams away that you should be putting away. And I think a lot of that comes with lack of leadership on defense. Like, I don't know who that guy is going to be, like the Nakobe Dean, who's going to get up in your face when you make a mistake and then get up in your face with the same level of excitement when you do make a play. Like, I don't see that person. I don't know who that is. Is it Javon Bullard? I don't know. Is it Jamon Dumas-Johnson? I don't know. Is it Zion Logue? I don't know. Who knows? That guy hasn't emerged yet. And we have to – that has to happen if this defense is going to have any sort of accountability. Like what Sean Williams – like this reminds me of what happened what year was that, 11 or 12? Where Sean Williams pulled the team in 12 – where he pulled the team in and just absolutely lit a fire under them because nobody else would. Yes. And then all of a sudden,
and he also told them, you know what I mean? And they were winning. They were undefeated at that point, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Georgia.
And that was just something. And he said the same thing that we're saying right now is that, there's no hard-nosed football going on right now. There's no – Georgia's built off defense. Going back to just when I was, watching Georgia, just the Thomas Davis and, the Mario Mentors and Tim Jennings and Greg Blue, again, all those guys up front that we had that were so good, they would come up and knock the hell out of you. That's what they did, and we did that last year. We did that the year before. We're just missing that key aspect right now. And I'm not saying that it's not there because I know it's there. We're just missing that aspect. Like I said earlier, I just think that goes to missing some guys early on to where, all right, I think we're pretty much healthy now. Let's just get back to doing what we do best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And doing what we do best is flying around and making plays. So I think you key in on Ray Davis, but you also have to pay attention to Barion Brown. Like, he is going to be a problem, not just for Georgia, but for everybody in the league, in special teams and on offense. He's going to be a problem. He is from my neck of the woods, Nashville, Pearl Cone. We played against him. That dude can fly. He's every bit as fast as they say he is. Every bit of it. Yes. And he is a matchup nightmare. If you let him get loose, and Kentucky builds momentum off that type of stuff. And if you let him get loose, it's going to be a long day because he's going to continue to get loose. They're going to give him jet sweeps. They're going to put him in the return game. They're going to do things with him. They're going to take shots at these corners. So Kamari Laster better be ready. They took some shots on Keely Ringo. Like Keely Ringo had a hard time with him last year. Kamari Laster better strap it up.
One thing about this Kentucky matchup in Georgia, this is still one of the toughest games of the year. There's one time where they might get you. If there's a time they're going to get you, to be this year right here. Why? Because they're executing. They are clicking on all cylinders. You know what I mean? Just watching them play, watching that defense fly to the football. Watching that offensive line block and just maul people up front. If this was a year that they were going to get you, it was going to be this year. I think Stoops has done a great job of getting those guys prepared to play week in and week out. And win, lose, or draw, those guys, they love Mark Stoops. and they play really, really hard for them. You know, and I don't think the moment's going to be too big for them in Athens. It's pretty much just another game for them.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, they do.
The crowd is going to be a huge factor for us. You know, so I don't know if they're having a red out or a blackout or whatever they're doing, but the crowd is going to be a huge factor for us. You know, it was a huge factor for Auburn last week. You know, for us, you know, seeing all that ugly orange up in the stands will make anybody nervous.
Yeah,
so
that make anybody nauseous.
But that's going to be huge because I mean, Kentucky has always been a thorn in our side, just like South Carolina. You know, every once in a while they'll get us too. You know, but this is a really, really good Kentucky team. This is probably the most solid Kentucky team I've seen in a really, really long time, from top to bottom. You know, usually they're deficient in one area. You know, I think last year was more so offense than defense, but I think this year, as a group, as a whole, I mean, they're pretty sporty.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think, you know, defensively, you just got to find the leader and you got to communicate and execute. Offensively now, you've got to find a way to be able to run inside. You have to be able to find that because that is the key to this Georgia offense because you have Cedric Van Pran, you have Tate Ratledge, you have two preseason All-American guys there. But for whatever reason, whether it's loaded boxes and not properly communicating, which again would fit the theme very, very well, it just hasn't happened with the inside run game. Perimeter run game, good.
Mm-hmm.
Inside run game, ugly. And
yeah, it's not good when the receivers are blocking better than the offensive linemen.
Put them in offensive line. Jeez. But yeah, so how do you do that? Like besides just keep banging it in there.
You just keep banging it in there. You know, at some point, you know, if you keep running here's my philosophy is this. If you keep running the football, that lets your offensive line know that you have faith in them. You know, if you just completely abandon the run, just like, hey, we're going to throw this thing around all game, you know, they get passive. You know, you're like, no, I can't say what I want to say. We're fixing to run this football right here, and we're going to get 2 yards. Damn it, we're going to get 2 yards. You know what I mean? If it's 3rd and 2, I expect this All-American offensive line, whether we're missing a person here or there or not, it really doesn't matter. I expect us 3rd and 2 to get 2 yards. Hell, I expect us to get at least 3. There should be no question.
Yeah. Anytime we call inside,
right now,
it should be 3 yards.
Yeah.
Least.
And right now, you know, and people, like I say this all the time, people want to say, oh, why'd Bobo call that? Because it was open. The first 3rd down. If we block it like we're supposed to, it's a first down. Like no question, it's first down.
Yeah.
No matter what. You know, so it just comes down to execution. You're too big and too physical to just, hey, we're playing passive up front until we get mad and then we actually want to run the football. In the second half, we actually showed our dominance. It was like, hey, this is what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just the point of, no, you can't abandon it. And one thing I like about Bobo, he's not abandoning it. This is what you're going to do.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's a perfect answer. I think you have to sit there and say, we've got to commit to this and we've got to commit to being able to run the football inside. And I think it will pay dividends. And continuing doing what you do very, very well, which a staple of the Bobo offense is the power toss. And even though we're still doing it, it's the same blocking scheme, but you're doing it out of multiple formations now. And, you know, something I think that Dejon Edwards thrives at as well. And so I'm very excited that this team has potential to be able to dominate in the run game. And that's just got to happen. And that will unload the box. That will help the passing game. That will keep some of the pressure off Carson Beck. And you should be able to move the field, should be able to move down the field with good rhythm.
Yes. I think we got to the point to where, and I made this point today, I just got mad all over again. But we got to the point where we just thought people were going to lay down. Yeah. You know, these are 2 back-to-back national champions, and, you know, they're this big, bad offensive line, and, you know, they got all these weapons at receiver and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, no one gives a crap about anybody that you got because you have a target on your back, you know, and we've gotten complacent. We're like, well, we beat Auburn, the last 4 or 5 times, or, you know, we beat South Carolina like a drum last year and just thought they were going to come out and lay down. Hell no. As Kirby said the other day, Saturdays in the SEC are very, very unpredictable. Anybody can get beat on any given day by any given team, except Vanderbilt. But at some point, you just got to realize that these people aren't going to lay down. These people they recruit just like you do, and they want to beat you. They want to be the team to take the giant down. So either you can sit here and think you're just going to lean on people and it'd be okay, or you can go out here and assert your dominance on people. And I think that's what, that's the frustrating part, but it's also a learning part too, because we were missing so many people, on the offensive side. But that's still no excuse to be playing as passive as we played up front. That's just up front.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to still come off the ball. You've had guys at the tackle position that were competing for starting jobs. Like, there's no reason that they can't come in there and not skip a beat. And just because Amarius Mims is not in doesn't mean, okay, we all of a sudden can't block the simple things that we've blocked for years and years and years, and that we've blocked we blocked at a high level.
Zone doesn't change. Zone is zone.
Yeah, zone is zone.
If you run zone, you should at least get 2 yards every single time.
Yeah.
And that's at a minimum. You should at minimum get 2 yards every single time.
And and inside pressure should not affect you one bit. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you're playing the combos right, and you're making the right calls, there should be no run-throughs, and there should be nothing on the edge. Now, I will say this. Some of the plays that are made are guys coming off the edge. And when you stack a box, there's always going to be unblocked guys. But as a quarterback, as a running back, you are taught, and I know in the duo scheme you're taught this, and I'm sure in the inside zone scheme you're also taught this as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to account for you have to know where your combos are, and you have to account for the unblocked guy. So as a quarterback, if your unblocked guy happens to be the guy, the edge guy on the left, well, I have to account for him. I have to make sure that he's held accountable for what he does if he comes off the edge, if he blitzes off the edge. As a running back, I've got to know, okay, this guy is going to be blocked, so I'm going to hug this combo, and this is where I'm going to take it. Because if I go, and we teach it as bang, bend, and bounce, right? So bang is like you're right at your aiming point. You're there. You're hugging that aiming point combo. Bend is everything washes to the play side, and you end up bending it to that backside A gap, and you find the crease there. Bounce means everything washes the other way, and you end up bouncing it B or C to the call side or to the play side. And so I think you have to determine what's going to affect your decision. Who's going to be the player that helps you make that decision? And you have to account for him. And if you have a guy heavy off the edge, you gotta either block him or RPO him, block him or read him. And I'm not sure that we're communicating well on that either, or I'm not sure that Carson Beck may not be comfortable with that and reading that. I know Stetson did a great job of that last year, which is why our run game wasn't a problem. So there's just things like that stand out.
I think Carson is not a run threat to people right now. The young man can run. Okay. So, but at this point, especially this way in the game, if you go back to South Carolina game, South Carolina's 2 defensive tackles did a really good job of stunting and twisting and doing a lot of things up front to kind of throw you off. All right. But at the same time, Carson needs to use his legs. If you go back and look, he may have pulled that ball on 3rd and 2. The safe bet is to give it and you get the 2 yards. Well, that in squeeze or you get a blitz and we can pull that ball. Stetson did a good job of reading and pulling the ball. Instead, Carson's going to have to use his legs. I think once he starts using his legs and actually becomes a threat, I think that's when we're really going to get humming, because that'll get us out of, tough situations to where he has to hold on to the football. He may make a bad throw here or there. And at the same time, look at Thornton. I never would have guessed that Thornton would have pulled that ball and ran down the sideline. But he did. Yeah. And then what happened? it screwed up everything on defense because of him pulling the ball. So they were getting us inside. Wow. Yeah. So, at some point he's just gonna have to use his legs. Gonna have to get comfortable with. Sometimes you might need to just call a design QB run every once in a while. You know what I mean? Just keep people honest. But I think having all our weapons at receiver now is really huge for us. Bobo's starting to open up the playbook a little bit more. I mean, Beck he only misfired on 10 passes still. So I mean, his completion percentage.
He just got pressured a lot.
That first half was just rough. But we just got to get out. We got to get out of our own way. I think that's the message for the show. If Georgia gets out of their own way, I can see us scoring upwards of 40 points this weekend. In all honesty,
we just get out of our own way. Stay out of third and long. You're absolutely right. Stay out of third and long. Get out of our own way. Quit shooting ourselves in the foot. So, but we're gonna kick off our picks by actually picking this game. Georgia's favored by 14 at home. Are they going to cover this?
What's the over-under?
The over-under. I knew you were going to ask me the over-under. The over-under is probably not a lot. I'm going to guess as I'm pulling up Betonline.ag.
It's got to be about 40-something.
I bet it's right at 48-52, somewhere in that ballpark. Let's see. It's a 6:00 game, 7:00 your time. Is it bettable? Oh, there it is. The over-under is 47.5. I was right on it. 48.
I'm gonna take. They let me down last week.
They've let me down every time I picked them with the spread.
So I am going to take the over in this one. I'm going to take the Dogs to win, but I'm going to take the over.
If I have to pick the spread, I'm going to take Kentucky to cover, but I'm certainly going to take the over for sure. I think there's going to be an over. I think Kentucky's going to have the ability to put up some points, but I think Georgia's going to have that same ability. I think it's going to be a high-scoring, tight game.
Yeah,
I think both teams are explosive. Both teams are explosive.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like a 10-point game, unless one just decides that they don't want to get off the bus, and then it gets ugly fast.
Which can happen.
If Georgia against Arkansas.
Yeah. If Georgia decides not to get off the bus, we could be seeing a very different team.
These people, it's a 7:00 game, so people in Athens have had time to get good and sauced up too. It's going to be loud in there. Stadium.
Oh, yeah. All right, do you want to pick some other games?
What you got?
All right. First one, LSU at Missouri. This is an interesting one because LSU's only 6 or 5.5 point favorites at home. The over-under is 64.
I'm going to take LSU here just from an offensive standpoint. I'm going to take LSU here. I might change my mind on Saturday, but I think LSU can pull this one off at home. I think that's what gets me. If it was in Missouri, I'd take Missouri, but I think with it being in Baton Rouge, take LSU. It is at Missouri?
It's at Missouri.
Oh, I'm taking Missouri then.
Yeah, I was going to say take Mizzou.
Missouri's dangerous this year, man. That's going to be a good game with us in Missouri.
Yeah, I'm taking Mizzou plus 5.5. Or actually, I'm going to take Mizzou on the money line. Actually, if I'm gonna chicken out a little bit, I'll take Mizzou on the money line. All right, Oklahoma. I'm going to take Mizzou because if they lose, I think they're going to lose. I think they're going to lose tight. So I still win that one. All right. Red River Shootout. Oklahoma, Texas. Texas is 6.5-point favorites. They are deemed the home team, so they're wearing the burnt orange. Oklahoma's going to wear the all white unless they decide the red pants. But Texas, very good team, battle tested. Both, I think both teams are great. I think both teams are playing very well. I think Texas has been tested a little bit more than Oklahoma has been. But Israel, the over/under is set at 60 as well. What you got?
I'm going to take Oklahoma. I think Texas wins the game, but I think I'm going to take Oklahoma to cover. The reason being, they are clicking on offense right now. I mean, Dylan Gabriel is having a Heisman-type year. But like you said earlier, I think they've been a little bit more battle-tested. But Texas' offense has been known to sputter for a little bit, which makes me think that Oklahoma can kind of hang with them just a little bit to make this thing really interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the battle tested thing. I think Texas is going to be a little bit better up front, especially along the defensive line. I mean, seeing what they did at Alabama impressed me a little bit, and the way they were able to force Alabama into really just kind of looking clunky, which doesn't happen very often. Yeah. I think Quinn Ewers is also an elite quarterback, and I think Steve Sarkisian has some tricks up his sleeve. And so I think I'm going to take Texas. I'm going to take Texas minus 6.5 because I think they can win by a touchdown, and I think it's going to be touch and go there for a little bit, but I think Texas is going to end up winning and getting the cover.
There you go.
There you go. All right, our next one. Now this is one of those games where you wouldn't think going into the season that this game would have such heavy SEC West implications, but you have Bama at A&M. A&M is one. It's basically a pick 'em. It's 1.5. Bama's actually favored.
I'm taking Bama.
Yeah, I'm taking Bama too. Until, I just think their run game is just too. I think their run game is just too strong, honestly. And
run game and their defense. It'll be a close one, I feel like, but I just think that Texas A&M's not ready yet for what Alabama is right now. Now, if you called them like game 2 or 3, I'd probably be picking Texas A&M, but I think Alabama's figured it out. I think they must solidify the quarterback, and I think their defense is playing really good football right now. So I'm going to take the Crimson Tide on this one.
Going to take the Crimson Tide. Yeah. All right. Last one we're going to pick is going to be. This is an interesting one because Florida's 18-point favorites, but they really haven't lit the world on fire, right?
Must be playing Vandy.
And they're at Vandy, yeah. But Vandy, if you look at common opponents, Florida and Vandy fared better against Kentucky than Florida did. And I think they both lost, didn't they?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they both lost. But Florida lost worse. And Vandy looked a little bit more competent than they did against UNLV. However, the over-under set at 52, by the way. However, I think Vandy's pretty pitiful right now. They're pitiful this year. So I'm taking Florida.
Something's telling me to take Florida, which I probably might on Saturday, but Florida does not play well on the road. So I'm going to go with Vandy in this one. Something about Florida playing on the road they just don't do very good with. So,
I mean, I hope you're 2 years in. Well, Florida's at home, by the way.
I thought you said they were at Vandy.
I probably messed that up. No, it's at the Swamp, actually.
Oh no, then I'm taking Florida then. Never mind.
Yeah, I think I probably missaid that. Did I say at Vandy?
You probably didn't, but I was just thinking that Florida doesn't play really good on the road.
No, you're right about that. They don't. But all Okay. I probably my brain is also mush, but I could have very easily said Florida at Vandy. I wrote it on my sticky as Florida at Vandy. So I have our pick. I'm listing our picks right here on my official Believe in Georgia Dog stationery. Look. And we're gonna make a parlay out of this. We're gonna build a parlay out of this. I'm gonna play this parlay. And if it hits, thank you. So heck yeah. Well, let's go and do it for us, man. I know it's going to be an exciting game Saturday, a game that we weren't expecting to be this exciting, but glad for the test because I think Kentucky being good is good for the conference. I think any team in the SEC being good is good for the conference. So I think that's a welcome bonus.
Absolutely. Kirby said that all the SEC teams should be ranked, so obviously he believes in it too.
Mm-hmm.
Even Vandy.
Oh, yeah. Even Vandy, which is kind of a stretch, but whatever. So before we get out of here, who do y'all have down on Friday?
We're going to take a trip to Savannah against Jenkins of Savannah for our first region game. So everybody in our region's getting started, and it's 10 games now. You know, the 10th game being the state championship. That's the goal, but can't get there without winning the first one. So one game at a time. There
you go. And we're playing Father Ryan, the aforementioned Father Ryan Fighting Irish, or just Irish because you can't say Fighting Irish anymore. So I don't know if that's copyright or just the fact that people are just sensitive. I hope it's copyright.
It's probably copyright because we used to have the old Wisconsin W, and they sent the trademark letter down to Ware County High School saying you couldn't use that W. How they knew about it, I have no clue. But
they have their ways. They have somebody researching all that stuff.
Oh yeah, or somebody sitting in the office somewhere just looking at all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I used to sit by a fax machine and send faxes to recruits every week and file questionnaires. Like there's people doing stuff like that. There's people doing tedious things. Yeah. I would sit in an office for hours watching randomly submitted recruit tapes to see if there's any inkling of something that maybe has slipped through the cracks.
Yeah.
Like potential PWOs.
That would do it. Jaguars of the world.
Yes, exactly. And Fabris was a really good audience, by the way. Coach Fab was a really good audience. Like he would, I would run some things by. I would ask him sometimes. I would say, "Hey, what do you think of this kid?" I would preface it by like, "Hey, obviously not a scholarship worthy kid, but what do you think of this?" And he told me.
I'm sure you got a very honest opinion from Coach Fab.
Yes. Yes, it did. A lot of times, I got a couple times like, "That kid sucks." Like about that.
It's true.
And there was one time I think I was just in like kind of a spicy mood a little bit. I just wanted to see him just to see what he would say. Strictly to see what he would say. I showed him one. He's like, "What?" I can't repeat everything he said, but he said something to the effect of, "What the heck is wrong with this kid?"
Yes.
Why are you showing me this?
Yes. And he said, true John Fabris passion.
Mm-hmm. So that was fun. But anyway, we're going to get out of here. It's the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Network, presented by Betonline.ag. We thank you for listening. Hopefully, if you play our picks, you win, because if we play our picks, we also win. So it's double benefit. Israel, good luck this Friday. Collect that first region win. Brother. Appreciate you, and hope you go on a run. And we'll see you guys back here next week. We'll talk about the results of this Georgia-Kentucky matchup, and we'll preview Missouri all next week coming up. So stay tuned for that. But until then, as always, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Do you believe?